Live, I'm Steve Gruber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill, we got an armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Terrence Bates in for Steve Gruber. We appreciate you being here with us on this 20th of August. It is a Thursday, and we want to get things started off with Vice President J.D. Vance in Wisconsin talking about President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. In fact, he's answering questions from reporters as we speak.
Let's step back a little bit. Washington, D.C. got to a point where it was having a murder more than every other day. The national capital of the most powerful nation in the history of the world had a murder every other day, carjackings, armed robberies that rival literal third world countries. And the President of the United States said, this is America's city and enough is enough, and he deployed the National Guard to fix it. Now, that was the right decision at the time. But I don't know how anybody can look at the results over the last 14 days and say anything other than thank God Donald Trump did what he did. Because armed robberies, carjackings, murders are down between 40 to 90%. Even the very Democratic mayor of D.C. said yesterday that she was grateful for the additional police presence because it made it possible for people, Americans, black, white, rich, and poor, to enjoy the nation's capital again. And that's what I want. I mean, all of you, Washington, D.C. is your town. You literally built it with your tax dollars. You should be able to come and go to one of these beautiful museums or see one of these incredible monuments without fear that you're going to get mugged. And that's what we have changed in just a short period of time. And you asked the Wisconsin-specific question. What the president has said is that, very simply, we want governors and mayors to ask for the help. The President of the United States is not going out there forcing this on anybody, though we do think that we have the legal right to clean up America's streets if we want to. But what the President has said is very simply is, why don't you invite us in? Is Milwaukee a super safe city right now? It's had some crime problems. It's a beautiful city. There are a lot of beautiful, incredible, hardworking people who live there, but let's be honest, Milwaukee has had some crime problems. So have other parts of our community. Chicago, I know we're not too far from Chicago. Chicago's had a lot of crime problems. Why is it that you have mayors and governors who are angrier about Donald Trump offering to help them than they are about the fact that their own residents are being carjacked and murdered in the streets? It doesn't make an ounce of sense. And the last point that I'll make about this, sir, is, and I'm going to violate the advice I gave to the President of the United States yesterday, because we were having lunch yesterday and the President said, JD, I don't know how I did it. I have actually got the Democrats to come out in defense of crime. And it is crazy. If Donald Trump came out tomorrow and said he really likes puppies, you would have AOC come out and say puppies are terrible. So you have Donald Trump, who has reduced murders, carjackings, and armed robberies in 14 days in Washington, D.C., and now you have national Democrats coming out and saying, oh, well, we love murders and carjackings and armed robberies. Why won't Democrats just use some common sense? We're going to disagree about stuff from time to time. I'm sure Democrats want higher taxes and I want lower taxes. We may disagree about some foreign policy issues, but on this basic principle that murdering people, armed robberies, carjackings are bad, wouldn't it be nice if the Democrats just worked a little across the aisle for once? Yeah. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Matt Smith, WISN TV in Milwaukee. To what you just said, Milwaukee's mayor the other day said absolutely not to any talk of National Guard troops. Would the administration consider ever coming into a city like Milwaukee?
Well, again, we want to be invited into Milwaukee. We want to help people. We want to help our fellow citizens. And we think that if you look at the crime rates, if you look at the murders in Milwaukee, if you look at certain neighborhoods where people are unafraid to go out even in the middle of the day, we would love to come and help the people of Milwaukee. But the President of the United States has said he wants to be asked. And that has been his consistent line from the very beginning, that we have an incredible law enforcement capability in the United States. You know what's crazy about crime is most of the violent crime is committed by a very small number of people. When we talk about a violent crime problem, we're not talking about thousands upon thousands of people in Milwaukee. We're talking about a few hundred people who probably commit 90% of the violent crime. We would love to come in and help lock up those violent criminals. I hope the mayor of Milwaukee gets some common sense and actually fights for her residents for a change, or his residents for a change, because we would love to actually help cut down on the crime in this community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Anthony DeBruzzi, Spectrum News, Wisconsin. Sticking with Milwaukee, but a little different. Yesterday, Governor Tony Evers requested a disaster declaration from President Trump after the historic flooding that we've seen in the Milwaukee area. So can Wisconsinites count on the administration for financial help through this?
Yeah, so obviously, look, we want to help people, we want to help our fellow citizens, and I know that Wisconsin has suffered some serious problems. I have not talked to the President of the United States. I'm not even sure that he's aware yet that the governor has issued that disaster declaration, but I will take that back to Washington, D.C. and make sure we respond to it promptly. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Mr. Vice President. Daniel Gomez, WEAU in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I see that you've been touring around the country, visiting congressional battleground districts. No different here, Wisconsin's third. You're here also garnering up some support for Derek Van Orden. So my question here is, can we expect you again next year when we actually get to the midterm elections? And will you also address other issues in Wisconsin's third district, which include agriculture, childcare, healthcare, and all these other things that impact rural, hardworking, working class Wisconsinites here?
Of course. Well, do you all want to have me back next year? Is that okay? Look, so long as the people of the 3rd District will have me, yes, I will keep on coming back and keep on talking about the issues that matter. Yeah, you asked about agriculture, I think rural health care, and also child care. Look, if you look at the working families tax cut, there's a lot there for agriculture. There's a lot. For example, if you buy a new tractor.
You're listening to Vice President J.D. Vance speaking in Wisconsin. He'll continue, or our coverage will continue on social media if you'd like to watch that. We now want to take you over to Minneapolis, though, where an update is happening on the shooting yesterday. 2 young children killed. Here's the Minneapolis Police Department and other officials.
The men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department who responded yesterday did not hesitate. At 8:27 a.m., 911 began to receive initial calls of shots being fired. By 8:31, a Minneapolis police officer in a regular uniform with no helmet, no SWAT gear, ran into the church and was met by a parishioner who directed him towards where the gunman had been. The parishioner later told me that was the first time that he, the children and others there, had any sense that they might be safe and survive. The members that responded yesterday exemplified the motto that is on the Minneapolis police squad cars: to protect with courage and to serve with compassion. All of our law enforcement partners, first responders, and many children, members of the school staff, and parishioners of Annunciation Catholic Church all showed incredible courage yesterday in the face of unspeakable horror. As the investigation continues, we will continue working alongside our county, state, and federal law enforcement partners as we continue to be critical as we piece together exactly what happened. At this time, we have identified a total of 20 victims that had injuries resulting from gunfire, including the 8 and 10-year-old who were killed yesterday. 15 of the injured are children between the ages of 6 and 15. 3 of those injured are adults in their 80s. Those who remain hospitalized need all of our support as we continue to pray for a speedy recovery for all of our victims. During the processing of the scene at Annunciation Church yesterday, 3 shotgun shells were recovered, along with approximately 116 rifle rounds. 1 live round was recovered from a handgun, that appears to have malfunctioned as the shooter attempted to use it and became stuck in the chamber. There were 4 search warrants that were executed yesterday. One at the church, the others were executed at residences believed to be associated with the shooter. One of those residences was in the city of Minneapolis, a second one was in Richfield, and a third one was in St. Louis Park, which are both bordering municipalities. Additional evidence was recovered as a result of these warrants. Literally hundreds of pieces of evidence have been recovered thus far, which include electronic devices that will be further searched and processed. It now becomes our job collectively with all of law enforcement to process that evidence. And so this investigation will continue, and we will follow all of the evidence to its logical conclusion. I am aware, however, that this may not ultimately provide the answers that our public is looking for. When something terrible happens, the public expects law enforcement to provide some explanation for what happened. But the reality is, this is an unthinkable, completely senseless act. Violence perpetrated against children worshiping at Mass. And no investigation, no evidence will ever be able to make sense of such an unthinkable tragedy. That being said, we will do our best to determine and identify a specific motive. What we have seen so far is this is an individual who, unfortunately, like so many other mass shooters that we have seen in this country too often and around the world, had some deranged fascination with previous mass shootings and very disturbing writings that demonstrate hatred towards many different individuals and different groups of people. And he fantasized about the plans of other mass shooters. Unfortunately, again, this has become all too common in our society. That being said, we know ultimately the purpose of the shooter's actions was to obtain notoriety for the shooter themselves. That being said, I have only said the name of this shooter once, and I'm asking members of the media to stop saying the shooter's name. That was the whole purpose of why he did this heinous act, to obtain that notoriety for themselves. As schools in our city are beginning to start this week and next, we are working with all of our law enforcement partners, county sheriffs, state troopers, and surrounding municipalities that are helping the city of Minneapolis as we step up police presence both in and around schools and around all of our houses of worship in the city. Many of our law enforcement partners are also supplementing patrols, and we could not be more grateful. This has truly been a collective effort in partnership with our community. We also must say that we will be forever in debt to all of the doctors, nurses, and paramedics who responded, who are caring for these victims in this incident. I cannot tell you how incredibly grateful we are for all of the love and support that has been pouring in from all around the country, both for the first responders who initially responded, entered that church, and dealt with the unthinkable, and for all of the victims and families that have received that love and support as well. The Minneapolis Police Department and our community have a long road ahead of us to heal, and we need everyone to continuing to show their support after the cameras once again leave this city. I'd like to invite up the Acting United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota, Joe Thompson.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Thompson. I'm the Acting United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota. Yesterday, Minnesota was attacked. It was an attack, first and foremost, on our children and our families, an attack at a school and in a place of worship. It was also an attack on our city, our state, and our country. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, ATF, and other federal law enforcement are working with state and local partners to investigate this heinous act. Our investigation is twofold. First, we are seeking to confirm what we believe to be true, which is that the shooter acted alone and that no one else was involved, that the threat died with the shooter yesterday. We believe that to be true, but we'll leave no stone unturned to ensure the safety of our community. Second, we are investigating the motive, why and how this happened. The shooter left behind hundreds of pages of writings that describe the shooter's plan, writings that describe the shooter's mental state, and more than anything, writings that describe the shooter's hate, pure, indiscriminate hate. The shooter expressed hate towards almost every group imaginable. The shooter expressed hate towards black people. The shooter expressed hate towards Mexican people. The shooter expressed hate towards Christian people. The shooter expressed hate towards Jewish people. In short, the shooter appeared to hate all of us. The shooter's heart was full of hate. There appears to be only one group that the shooter didn't hate, one group of people who the shooter admired. The group were the school shooters and mass murderers that are notorious in this country. The shooter idolized some of the most notorious school shooters and mass murderers in our country's history. I won't name them, just like I won't name the shooter. They don't deserve to have their names remembered. As I said, the shooter left behind hundreds of pages of writings. There is a lot to digest, and we'll know more in the coming days and weeks as we've had an opportunity to go through them. But reading them, one thing is clear, and it's going to be hard to hear, but it's important to the question of why this happened. More than anything, the shooter wanted to kill children, defenseless children. The shooter was obsessed with the idea of killing children. The shooter saw the attack as a way to target our most vulnerable among us while they were at their most vulnerable at school and at church. I won't dignify the shooter's words by repeating them. They are horrific and vile. But in short, the shooter wanted to watch children suffer. Yesterday was a tragedy for the city and our state. My heart goes out to the entire Annunciation community. Their loss is unimaginable. I want the state of Minnesota to know that when a tragedy like this occurs, we all stand together. Federal, state, and local law enforcement work together side by side. The FBI, the ATF, the BCA, Minneapolis Police Department, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, including their victim advocates who have been working with the families yesterday and today. The list goes on. This has been a tough summer for Minnesota, but I take heart knowing that we all stand together in confronting this evil. Thank you. I'll turn it back to Chief O'Hara.
We'll open it up for some questions and answer what we can.
The FBI Director Kash Patel put out some details today, including that there was a threat against President Trump, that there were some messages such as Israel must fall and free Palestine, and that it is being investigated as a hate crime and there's evidence of a hate crime. Can you speak to what the FBI Director put out?
I haven't talked with Director Patel, but certainly there's evidence of hate. As I mentioned, the shooter expressed hate towards many groups, including the Jewish community and including President Trump. So obviously, as in most cases where there's a mass shooting at a house of worship or a school, federal law enforcement will work with state and local law enforcement to investigate to make sure what happened. We know what happened and we prosecute as appropriate.
I would just add to that, Matt, that there is no question in this case that this shooter intended to terrorize the children, the school members of the school community, the parishioners were inside of that church. So whatever label we want to put on it is regardless of the fact that it is very clear that this shooter had the intention to terrorize those innocent children. Sorry.
One of the manifestos, I guess, mentions a belief that the shooter was under an FBI investigation. Is anyone able to say whether or not that's true, or whether this person showed up on any watch list or any federal radar at all?
Yeah, we did a check of all of our holdings, the FBI holdings, and he was not in our holdings prior to this incident, so we didn't have anything on him at that time.
Okay. And is there any kind of mental health diagnosis that anyone is aware of?
There is no diagnosis that I'm aware of that I can share. I can tell you we are not aware of any state-ordered mental health commitments for this individual.
Chief, could you talk about, we're hearing some new details come out about the moments inside the church.
Yes.
About the doors being locked and how that might have protected some kids. Could you talk to us about that?
So the question was about the doors being locked at the church. Annunciation Church had a practice that once Mass began, they locked the doors of the church. This incident occurred shortly after the Mass was beginning. So there's no question that the fact that the doors were locked likely saved additional lives. At the same time, we also know that the shooter intended to barricade and did barricade the doors on the same side of the church where the shooting occurred. So what's particularly heinous and cowardly about this is these children were slaughtered by a shooter who could not see them. He was standing outside of the building, firing through very narrow church windows on the level where they would line up with the pews. And even ultimately, when he got to the rear of the church, was an entryway that's basically all glass, and fired out the window where a person could walk in, ultimately did not walk in.
When you say doors were locked, is that from the inside or from the outside? Like you're inside and you can get out, but you can't get in from the outside?
The question is about the doors being locked. Yes, the doors were locked intentionally by the church from the inside, and that's a practice that they had in place once Mass had begun.
Given his social media postings, troubling post, admiration for previous school shooters, why was he able to obtain a weapon of that magnitude?
So the question was, due to previous social media posts, why was the individual able to obtain a weapon? We have nothing in the evidence that we have acquired so far that would indicate that he is a person that he did not lawfully purchase these weapons. He did not have a criminal history. The only thing that we are aware of is a traffic ticket. He did not have any state-ordered commitments for mental health. So of everything that we have seen so far, it did not rise to the level where he would have been a person prohibited from purchasing a firearm.
Can you confirm if the shooter went to the church weeks prior, and if so, how long before the shooting happened?
So Uba's question was if the shooter did go to the church weeks prior. We cannot specifically confirm that at this time, but that is obviously a part of the investigation.
Even though there's all about his connection to the church and school.
Yep. So the question was the connection of the shooter to the church and school. We do know that the shooter did attend Mass there previously. The shooter did attend school, and the shooter's mother was an employee of the parish previously for some time. So obviously there is a connection between that shooter and this particular parish and this school there.
Chief, what can you tell us about the 20th victim that you mentioned, another victim you mentioned today? How is that child doing?
So there's one additional child that was injured by gunfire that we weren't aware of at the time of the last briefing. They were transported by private vehicle to a hospital outside of the city, and the report was actually made to police after they had been treated and released. So the injuries to the children range from, in this case, I guess you'd call like a graze wound from gunfire, all to, again, some very serious life-threatening injuries. We have some victims that have been released by the hospital at this time. We anticipate perhaps a few more today, but we still have some victims who are very seriously injured and in critical condition.
Even though there's no criminal record,
sorry.
I was going to say, even though there's no criminal record, have been able to find any police contacts where there was odd behavior, maybe that didn't rise to the level of a crime, but in any jurisdiction that's come up?
So the question was police contacts with odd behavior. There's nothing in Minneapolis where we did not have previous police contacts with him.
Is there anything more you can say today on the name change issue? I know that yesterday you didn't confirm that, but I know it's out there.
Yes.
Is there anything more you can reveal just about?
So the question was about the shooter's name change. We are aware that a few years ago, I think 2019, the shooter did have their name changed. We can confirm that, yes.
I know Luke kind of asked it, and the FBI spokesperson talked about it too. Had any law enforcement you found made contact with the shooter's family previously to what happened yesterday?
I can try. For everybody, I'm Drew Evans, Superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. It depends on specifically what you're asking. We're aware of some reports in the past. We are gathering those reports now. There will be additional information that we'll be able to share down the line. But as the chief noted, and we think what is important in this and related to the question, this individual was not arrested for anything that would prohibit them from being able to purchase a firearm. There is not substantive police contact with this individual that would have raised concern to the level that would lead us to believe this sort of a situation would happen today. The social media, in terms of your question for that, just to be clear, to level set for everybody, there is a specific criteria in terms of how an individual can purchase a firearm legally in Minnesota. If those posts and information, I'll share it for everybody that we want to know going forward, this obviously is a terrible tragedy. We need the help of the public and everybody else. If there's concerning social media behavior by anybody, or that there's concern in their community, that they are contacting their law enforcement so that we can adequately address that in the process. That did not happen in this case.
So in terms of the evidence found with the search warrants, were you able to recover additional guns, and if so, were those registered and also legally purchased?
So the question was, in regard to the search warrant, were additional weapons recovered? The answer is no. Only the 3 weapons that were recovered at the scene, a .556 millimeter rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, and all 3 were used during this incident.
Chief, any history of gun training? Because the shooter seemed fairly accurate.
We're not aware of, at this time, any history of gun training.
In the evidence that you have recovered, has the shooter expressed any grievance against that particular church?
So the question was any specific grievance against the church. We mentioned there is a connection to the parish, a connection to the school, but we have not identified a triggering event or a specific grievance against the church that you could point to say this is the reason for why this happened.
Chief, I just want to clarify something you said. Did you say that the shooter attended Mass in the weeks before the shooting?
I did not say that. So the question was, did the shooter attend Mass in the weeks before? We know that previously the shooter had attended that parish and had attended that school when they were younger.
Is there anything, any evidence that this person was radicalized or part of some online groups or anything like that would have inspired this behavior?
Yeah. So the question was if the individual was radicalized, I guess, for a specific cause or a part of some online groups. And the answer is no, we have not found evidence of that, other than, again, just this fascination in general with many, many different previous mass shootings, mainly in this country, but also some from around the world.
Chief, any evidence to indicate why this particular church, just to kind of follow up on what others asked, why this particular church was chosen as the target and not somewhere else?
So Matt's question is the question, why this particular church? And other than the obvious, which we have said, the connection to being from that church, being from that school, mom having worked there, we have not found a specific trigger for why to target the children at this church.
On that note, though, did the shooter seem aware that there was going to be this mass at this time, that the kids would be there at that time?
So
other than the obvious that they showed up and shot.
Yeah. So the question was, did the shooter be aware? Was the shooter aware of this mass at this church? The answer would be yes. This was a daily mass, but this was special in that the children were attending to celebrate the first week of school, the beginning of a new school year.
Chief, are you able to give us an update? I know we heard this from HCMC this morning on the injuries. Who's hospitalized, how many, severity, and you did mention that you expect some other kids to be released today.
So the question was total number of victims who remain hospitalized. I do not have information that would have to come specifically from the individual hospitals. Again, I know that some victims have been released, and I believe HCMC mentioned at their press conference earlier that they anticipate a couple more may be released today. But I know both at HCMC as well as Children's Hospital that there remain patients who are in critical condition.
You had more than 24 hours to kind of absorb this and kind of process this. Your thoughts on this as we kind of move forward where we are right now?
So the question was, over the last 24 hours, for my thoughts on where we are and moving forward. I think we had dozens of police officers that responded, that entered there. I shared a story that one parishioner had shared with me of the relief they had seeing an officer running in towards the danger. And I know from dozens of officers who did respond that ran into the church and saw the unthinkable with all of these children so seriously injured, and other children that had blood on them, from not because they were injured, but because of blood that was shared from other kids. And just how confusing it was for the officers, because no one knew if there was specifically just one shooter, if there were perhaps improvised devices that were there to go off. So I think the officers, and that were then joined by state troopers and county sheriff's deputies and all of federal law enforcement officers and others that responded very, very quickly, and I just think did an incredible job at trying to ensure that the threat was eliminated, there were no additional threats, but also trying to triage as quickly as possible and get the injured to the hospital. And I think EMS, all the first responders, did an amazing job. And I think going forward, we're going to learn countless stories about many children and the heroic acts that children there did, as well as staff members and other parishioners. So I know this is, incredibly horrific and just an unthinkable situation, but despite all of that, I think there's going to be countless lessons of bravery from young children all the way up to elders in our community.
All right, we'll take one more, perhaps from somebody who's not yet had a chance.
Chief, have you spoken?
Is that you?
I think I am, but have you got? Go ahead. Yeah. Have you guys spoken with the shooter's parents, and have they said anything about past mental health history? And do you guys, as law enforcement, believe there might have been any red flags that might have been missed?
So the question was, have we spoken to the shooter's parents, and if there were any red flags that may have been missed? I know there were dozens of interviews that have been conducted with relatives, friends, associates of the shooter, as well as people, obviously individuals, witnesses that were present at the scene yesterday. I know we have not been successful in talking to the shooter's mother yet at this time, but there continue to be efforts made to get that done.
So you have talked to the father?
I cannot confirm that. I don't know. There's been. You have. Okay.
Did he live alone, or did he live with his father?
Well, the question was, did he live alone or live with his father? There's 3 residences that are associated with this individual. I can't verify right now which residence he was staying at immediately prior to the shooting, but that's obviously something that will come out with the investigation as it continues.
Just out of curiosity, what was your question?
Can you say how long the shooter attended the school for the foot parades?
Yeah. So the question was, how long did the shooter attend?
There's no high school there. So.
Okay. But I don't know the period of time exactly.
Is there surveillance video available? Not that we want to see it, but that you can review to know like how long he was shooting and how he snuck up and stuff like that.
So the question was, is there surveillance video? And the answer is yes, there's surveillance video at the church. That's how we know for sure he did not enter and did not fire at all from inside the church.
And do you know how long the shooting took place?
We will know that for sure. The question was, how long did the shooting take place? So the first call to 911 was...
Or I just mean like the shots being fired for how many seconds or minutes? Yeah.
Yes, we will be able to figure that out. We will be able to pinpoint that.
Yes. Thanks so much for your time today. You're quite hot, Chief. We got a lot more yet to get done today.
So I appreciate, again, your partnership in helping us get these messages out. Thank you.
In the interest of not sending cheers, do you have guidance on pronouns given the name change?
So that was the Minneapolis Police Department and other stakeholders and investigators talking about the latest in the investigation into the shooting yesterday at that Catholic school and the church there in Minneapolis. Of course, 2 kids dead, dozens more hurt. Many of those kids we're hearing are finally being released from the hospital, even though there are also many who are still being treated. Let's bring in former police lieutenant and retired Navy intel officer Steve Rogers to join us as part of this conversation as we try to make sense of what was a senseless crime to so many. Is Steve up, guys? Can we get Steve? All right, there is Steve. Steve, we appreciate you sticking around. Based on what you just heard, and you've been listening to that news conference just like I have, it seems to me the big takeaway here is that the alleged shooter in the case had some mental health issues and some emotional issues, which is something that I think we're seeing more and more of. It's not a gun issue. It is a mental health issue when you see these sorts of mass shootings.
Well, Terrence, you're absolutely right. It's not a gun issue, although there are some who are trying to make this into a politically motivated gun issue. So let's get to what we just saw. Excellent press conference. That chief, God bless him, very transparent, provided the public with information that would at least answer some questions without compromising that investigation. That's number one. Number two, even as a former law enforcement officer, hearing this chief describe what those cops were walking into, not knowing if there was other shooters, not knowing if there were bombs there. And what we miss sometimes as being in the public is, could you imagine those officers trying to get some sleep after they saw what they saw, the carnage they saw in that church? So God bless those cops and the other adults and even some of the kids who were very heroic in at least trying to save their lives and others. Now, the question, Terrence, that many people are asking, to your point, is how do we prevent these things? How in the world do we prevent some maniac getting these weapons and shooting up a whole bunch of people, and in this case, kids? This has to be an all-hands-on-deck solution. Number one, to your point, specifically with mental health. All of us see, and we know people who we think that may have some mental health problems. Now, some people we know do go off an edge, and that should be an alarm bell in our mind that there is something wrong here. And most of the times, if not all of the times, when we witness these terrible, horrific events, we find a lot of evidence on the internet. We find a lot of evidence in writings like this police chief described. So when we see these things on the internet where we believe and our guts telling us there's something terribly wrong with this person, as one individual during the press conference articulated, we need to make the phone call. Call your local police. Let them know there's something wrong here, and you might find out that that person is planning something like this individual planned against these children.
Steve, a small detail that was mentioned during that news conference that I personally believe could have a major impact on preventing these sorts of crimes in the future is not naming the suspect. The police chief there asked, look, do not say his name. I've said his name once. Don't say his name because that's what he wanted. Talk about how significant that is. And I'd like to get it from your perspective as someone who worked in law enforcement.
Yeah, very significant because, you know, at the end of the day, more people will know who the killer is than the poor victims are. And so these individuals that commit these crimes, and you know, you and I have been talking a lot over the years I've been on the air about copycat crimes. They see these individuals committing these horrific acts and they're visualizing in their own mind, that could be me. Everybody will know my name. They'll know who I am. So there you go with the mental health situation. But in regard to that, what we need to do is give more police a lot more funding. I'm talking millions of dollars in local, state, county, and city police departments to do what, Terrence? To beef up their intelligence and information gathering apparatus. We've got the best technology on earth in this country, and we have to now pour millions into police departments, and like I say, even local ones in small towns where they're going to have the technology to pick up a lot of what we see and hear about on the internet. And that's a very, very important method that we could use in preventing these crimes. But again, to your point about publicity, a lot of people see what's going on the air, they see these shootings, and these people who are mentally unstable are scratching their head saying, that could be me. So it's a good thing, a real good thing not to put their names on the air.
Absolutely. It's not necessarily uncommon to see in situations like this local and federal authorities working together. But in the past, there was this idea that there was some friction. I'm not seeing that there in Minneapolis. And do you attribute that to President Trump's leadership and the fact that in D.C. in particular, he is putting federal resources on the ground in some of these local cities and showing that it's okay, it can work?
Oh, Terrence, he's done an outstanding job. I mean, look, how could you argue with what was going on in Washington, D.C., and what is not going on now? And I'll tell you something else. I believe it was J.D. Vance earlier on your broadcast. Man, he really articulated this one point very well. Why do we have people in power? And in this case, unfortunately, we're talking about Democrats in cities across the country trying to hinder the ability of the guy in the White House who wants to protect people in their cities. And therein rubs one of the problems we have. There should be no opposition at all to bring more cops, your National Guard, whatever it takes, you need to do in order to do what? To save lives. It was Abraham Lincoln who said in his time, Terrence, we're living in extraordinary times, we're living with extraordinary circumstances, so you're going to have to take extraordinary measures to solve your problems.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Rogers, it is always good to talk to you. We appreciate your perspective and talking to us and spending some time here with us this afternoon.
Well, anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my friend. A new administration in Washington, D.C. has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. The reality is, however, that there is only so much the government can do, and if we really want to make America healthy again, it starts at home with each and every one of us. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear their doctors all the time here on this network, and you know their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make sure you're prepared for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits that contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of the medications inside. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. All of this can help you stay healthy and live a much longer and more satisfying life. So make America healthy again, because it starts right at your home. Do your part and protect you and your family. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back momentarily.
Stay tuned to get a free automatic toilet bowl cleaner from Mermaid. Your sink stopper's broken, and fixing a drain is a pain. Introducing Mermaid Drain Magic, the instant solution to most broken drains. Just remove and replace. In seconds, you can fill and drain with a simple press of a button. Drain Magic makes replacing your old, broken, rusty, even missing sink stoppers fast and easy. Drain Magic's anti-clogging basket helps prevent clogs in your sink, catching hair, food, even jewelry. Made with brass and chrome and a silicone gasket, it creates a watertight seal. Order your Mermaid Drain Magic today for only $19.99 and get a Mermaid toilet bowl cleaner absolutely free. Drop it in the tank for up to 3 months of cleaning. But wait, this could be your last chance to get Drain Magic at this low price with free toilet bowl cleaner. There's a strict limit of 3, so order now.
Call 1-800-519-4303 or visit GetDrainMagic.com. So call 1-800-519-4303 or visit GetDrainMagic.com. Order now.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-608-4172. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-608-4172 now.
Did you know that thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing? If you've written a book, Page can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, we get you printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple iTunes, and bookstores. We'll even promote your book.
Call for your free writer's guide, 800-319-0257, or scan the QR code now.
A live look at the White House here. We're going to have a live report momentarily, but to set all of this up, you may have been tuned in as Caroline Leavitt held her latest press briefing at the White House. She, of course, as you can imagine, addressed multiple topics, including the tragic school shooting at the Annunciation Catholic Church and School in Minneapolis. We, of course, also just heard from the police chief there in Minneapolis. Steve Gruber was there in person and asked Caroline Leavitt a question about having more police in the streets, on the streets of America.
With respect to Labor Day, one of the most underrepresented groups right now are police officers. 30,000 police officers short in America right now. To Brandon's question, 1,300 short in Chicago, 3,000 short in New York, 500 short here in Washington, D.C. What can the White House, what can the President do to help recruitment of police officers? He's done well with the military and Border Patrol. What can be done to get more police officers on the streets of America?
Well, the President has certainly been very successful in recruiting federal law enforcement. If you look at the ICE recruitment campaign that was led by he and our Secretary of Homeland Security, we've seen more than, I believe, 130,000 applicants to join ICE, which is just amazing. There's more applicants now than there are jobs to fill, and we're very grateful for that. Clearly, Americans want to serve their communities. They just need a leader who encourages them to do so. So maybe Governor Pritzker should spend less time demonizing the police, more time trying to recruit more police, and more time trying to call the President of the United States to get crime in his city under control.
The man who asked that question, Steve Gruber, joining us now live from the White House in Washington, D.C., with the very latest. So, Steve, really the issue of crime in this country is front and center after what happened there in Minneapolis, and I would imagine it is what is dominating the conversations in the halls of the West Wing as well.
Well, it certainly is. Obviously, this started a couple of weeks ago when Donald Trump cracked down on crime, brought in the National Guard into Washington, D.C., federalized the Metropolitan Police Department here. We saw 13 days without a homicide, so we're 2 weeks now with one homicide in Washington, D.C. So the overriding point here is law enforcement in America. The city of Minneapolis suffering from that attack at that Catholic school, but earlier that same night, 7 individuals shot in one incident, another one murdered. So their police force is down 20%. That's why I asked the question, because the overriding question is about law enforcement in America. If you're 500 officers short in D.C., 3,000 short in New York City, 1,300 short in Chicago, obviously that's got to be a big part of the problem, Terrence. And you take this back to defund the police. And I've got to go all the way back to Barack Obama's term, because a lot of you will remember there was a Black Lives Matter event happening in Dallas, Texas. 5 police officers were shot and killed that day. Remember that? It's been forgotten by the folks here in the media, Terrence. It should never be forgotten. 5 officers defending Black Lives Matter got gunned down in Dallas, and I think that there's been this exodus. And you ask any major police department in America, there's been an exodus of law enforcement. Look, it's Labor Day weekend. We should talk about employing more police officers in America. What can we do to make it better? How can we get more police on the streets? Because clearly, more police, look, I'm not real good with math, but more police means less crime, okay? I mean, I think that's pretty simple.
Absolutely. Steve, President Trump has commissioned leaders on Capitol Hill to draft a crime bill. Any idea what that crime bill would include? And I've got to imagine it would be more funding for what you just described, funding to get more police officers back on the street.
Well, clearly, I mean, think about Chicago. Chicago is now, for the 13th year in a row, the leader with the most murders in America. Just shy of 600 people will be murdered in Chicago this year. They couldn't even break 600. It's unbelievable. And so for Governor Pritzker, who Caroline Leavitt addressed directly, or the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, for them to sit there and suggest, well, we don't need your help. Clearly, you do need help. If you've got 600 murders, you've led the nation in murders for 13 consecutive years, you're not getting the job done. Nothing changes. If you live on the south side of Chicago and you're a pensioner, you're 65, you're 70 years old, you have no way of getting out of this, and you've got gangs and shootings and murder on your streets. If you're an elderly person, you're probably afraid to leave your apartment at all. for fear of being robbed or shot? And what about people taking their kids to school in these major cities, stepping over fecal matter or walking through open-air drug dens? Look, we're short 30,000 police officers in America. And the point that I made to Caroline, and she responded so well, we're 30,000 police officers short. This administration, this president has been terrific at recruiting military people, recruiting Border Patrol, ICE agents. I'm sure they can do something in this crime bill to encourage more recruitment of police officers that want to serve in Los Angeles and Cleveland and Dallas and all over this country, Terrence. It's time to clean up the streets, and that's going to take some effort. It's going to take some more police officers out there doing the job instead of fleeing because they were being treated so poorly.
Steve, about an hour ago or so, we heard from Vice President J.D. Vance. He's in Wisconsin right now talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill. But as you can imagine, crime and punishment or public safety was an issue that he was asked about. And he said, yeah, the president is willing to help. But at this point, he simply wants any of these leaders to ask him for help. He doesn't want to force it. If they ask, we will come. And I guess that really shows that President Trump is trying not to force things, but at some point in time, if they don't ask, he's probably going to take matters into his own hands, I would imagine.
Well, you know, at some point you've got to say, look, I am the commander-in-chief. My number one job is to protect the citizens of America. And if the governors won't do it, if the mayors won't do it, we need to make changes. And there's this red herring out there being passed around by Hakeem Jeffries and Jamie Raskin and other Democrats. Oh, Republican cities have problems too. Go ahead and look this up because I did, folks. Of the 20 most violent cities in America, 19 have Democrat mayors. I mean, this is a problem that's almost exclusively Democrat. Weak on crime, defund the police, a revolving door at the jail. This is almost exclusively a Democrat problem that has to be corrected. And Donald Trump said during that long cabinet meeting here a couple of days ago, crime could be the number one issue for the midterms because crime, it's 81% of Americans, 81%, including 68% of Democrats, consider crime to be a major problem in America. And how could they not? This whole idea that crime is down, nobody believes that. People are out in the cities. They see what happens. Washington, D.C. today is a different city than it was the last time I was here a month and a half ago. I can tell you that. It's a different attitude. It's a different city. This has to come to Chicago. This has to come to Detroit, to Cleveland, to Memphis. The most dangerous city in America per capita is Memphis, Tennessee. Again, a red state, but a blue city with a big problem of violence. We need to do better.
Absolutely. Steve Gruber reporting for us at the White House. Steve, do still continue to stay safe, even though there's more police presence on the streets of Washington, D.C. You just never know. Thanks so much, Steve. Be safe. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your answers to our America's Voice question of the day. Here it is. What should be done in order to put more police on the streets of America? It's something Steve just addressed moments ago. Can't wait to hear what you have to say.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford.
Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Tired of the hassle and high cost of selling a home? We can help. At Ideal Agent, we'll connect you with a top local agent that'll sell your home fast for top dollar, and all this for as low as a 2% commission.
We got the top dollar for our house and the lowest commission that I could have imagined. The house sold in 2 days. It was so exciting for us.
Ideal Agent is available nationwide. There's no obligation, and best of all, our service is completely free. Call today or visit idealagent.com.
Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be using this. Particle 6-in-1 Face Cream for Men. The first of its kind anti-aging cream designed specifically for men. Fights eye bags, dark spots, and wrinkles. Visit ParticleMen.com and use the promo code on your screen to receive 25% off your entire order. Plus, we've got free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. www.ParticleMen.com. Because seeing is believing.
What's your plan, huh? Do you have one? Talking about what is your plan for a reliable source of power when the next emergency strikes. Well, check this out. It's called the Patriot Power Generator 2500, and right now it's $500 off at 4 Patriots. See, they took a page out of the military's playbook for portable solar power, and now we get to use it in our own homes. What's even better is that this solar generator can power critical appliances like your fridge, your microwave, and your CPAP machine, so that you're prepared for whatever emergency strikes next. Go to 4patriots.com now and save $500.
Welcome back, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us for America's Voice Live. I realize there are many choices when it comes to who you choose for your cell phone services, and there are also new ones popping up all the time. But here's the truth. There's only one that boldly stands in the gap for every American that believes freedom is worth fighting for, and that would be Patriot Mobile. For more than 12 years, Patriot Mobile has been on the front lines fighting for our God-given rights and freedoms while also providing exceptional nationwide cell phone service. All of this with access to all 3 of the main networks. So don't just take my word for it. Ask the hundreds of thousands of Americans who have made the switch and are now supporting causes they believe in simply by joining Patriot Mobile. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes from the comfort of your own home. Keep your phone number. Keep your phone, or you can upgrade if you so choose. Patriot Mobile's all U.S.-based support team is standing by to take care of you. All you have to do is call 972-PATRIOT today, or you can go to patriotmobile.com/RAV. Use the promo code RAV for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/RAV, or call 972-PATRIOT and make the switch today. All right, let's get to your America's Voice question of the day. Here it is. What should be done in order to put more police on the streets of America? Christopher Randolph, thanks so much for chiming in, writing, instantly have more respect for them and be thankful for them instead of opposing them and putting them in jail when they do their jobs. And then there's Christy Miller, who writes, keeping it short and simple, we did it. We elected Donald Trump. Finally, Robert Schwenke writing, get rid of the mayors who coddle criminals. Thanks to each of you for chiming in, and thanks to you for being here with us for America's Voice Live. We'll see you back here, same time, same place, tomorrow.
Guys, if you plan to retire in the next 20 years, or if you've already retired, I have a message for you that you need to hear. Central banks, BRIC nations, and our allies are pumping trillions of dollars back into America, but every dollar they send could make your savings worth less. Hi, I'm Donald Trump Jr., and I just want you to be prepared for the future. So protect your hard-earned savings with gold. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at the Birch Gold Group offers you the safety net of gold with the tax advantage status of a retirement account. To see how it's done, click the link below to get a free info kit on gold IRAs. This kit reveals why gold IRAs are exploding in popularity, so do it now. What do you have to lose? It's free and there's no obligation. Click the link below to get your free info kit from the Birch Gold Group.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff, tense, or less active? Introducing the EasyWell Remedy Massage System, a triple fusion of therapeutic experiences. Full body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation and reduces inflammation. Infrared heat penetrates deep to reduce pain, soothe, and relax. The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 heated nodes mimics a professional massage. Plus, it's detachable for deep relief anywhere you need it. Experience the true remedy for your pain and stiffness. Call now.
They tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
There's not a prison built that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to values or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna! Take Vienna!
the national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room in a culture that